to Hey, What Did I Miss? For this week's cast, we're going to strictly focus on the audio because I really want you to listen to what I have to say. It's a very important message. This week, we're going to talk about the box. We're going to talk about the construct of the box. The box has different meanings to different people, and I want to bring to light some things. But first, we're going to start with a story called Not a Box by Antoinette Portis. I will make a link available for you to read along because there are some pictures that I actually want you to see that will be live on the YouTube feed while I'm reading along. For those of you listening to the podcast, strictly from Apple Podcast or Spotify and things like that, I will have a link available for you to click. Not a Box by Antoinette Portis. Why are you sitting in a box? It's not a box. What are you doing on top of that box? It's not a box. Why are you squirting a box? I said it's not a box. Now you're wearing a box? This is not a box. Are you still standing around in that box? It's not a box. Well, what is it then? It's not a box. And I know some of you are thinking, oh, why is Coach bringing up this story? So this is a story that I read to my pre-K kids, and it's a book that encourages them to be creative, not just see material for what it is, but actually use it. For example, for those who are unable to see the pictures in the moment, the bunny was shooting water at the box. The character was actually putting out a fire in the building because at that particular time, the box was the building. There's a picture of the rabbit using the box as a car. So it's important that we push beyond the boundaries of what we see. The reason why I want to talk about this is that we put labels on people because it makes us feel comfortable. It makes us feel organized in our brain that this particular person fits this type of description and that's where they stay. This is what they are because this is my comfort level for them. That goes along the lines of if anybody's ever heard of a single story of people. It's very dangerous that we close ourselves to that style of comfort level with people because you can miss out on many of the great connections and things you may have with others. And then we do that socially as well, right? Like, oh, we don't hang out with that kid because they hang out with that particular person. Or, for example, right, the basketball players don't hang out with the skaters because that's not cool. And like, you don't know what somebody likes because you've already separated yourself. You put a label on their box without actually seeing what's inside of their box to draw that connection. I want to tell a quick story. I'm a little embarrassed about this story. This is something I went through in my life. I'm at a basketball tournament in Florida. A kid walks in. He has on surfer shorts. He's got his surfboard, a hoodie, and flip flops. And he just walks in the gym. You know, got his book bag on. He just walks in the gym with his head down. And you know, my teammates and I at that moment, we're looking like, oh, we're about to give this kid 50. Like there's no way he's hooping. So he went in, changed, came out, played. He proceeded to drop 40 points on us, and we lost the game. And I mean, it was one of the easiest 40 points I've ever seen in my life. And then after the game, he came back out, same surfer shorts, had on his flip flops with a surfboard, and was just walking out to go outside. And you know, at that moment, I kind of was like, okay, we can't just, let's say, cliche, judge a book by its cover or assume things about people. It's very important that we take the time to look inside of their box. Obviously, he was a basketball player because he walked in the gym at that time with his teammates. and came ready to play, but we automatically assumed that we were going to dominate just because he had a surfboard. But that was just part of him, right? That was one thing that was in his box. He's supposed to be able to play basketball. Basketball players don't surf. You understand what I'm saying? But at that time, he went, put his surfboard in his box, took his basketball out of his box, gave us 40, put his basketball back in his box, and then took his surfboard out, right? But then the outside label didn't meet what was on the inside, and we took that for granted. Some of the same things that I noticed outside with some of my friends in the recess. Certain groups don't associate with other groups because of who they're hanging out with or their interests. But you will never know or find out about different people if you don't sit and talk with them and have a conversation. Okay, because not everybody's gonna fit what your construct is of your in your brain of what that person is supposed to be. Okay, so for example, okay, I know that on the outside of my box, for a lot of you, it just says basketball coach or just coach because you assume that's all there is to me and that's what you see, and I fit pretty in that box for you and it makes sense. But what's inside of that box, I was actually a celloist in high school. I was big into race cars because my dad actually worked for a pit crew and I would go to the racetrack every Saturday with my dad. I love to watch 80s movies over and over again. I'm ashamed to say that if you turn it on, I probably know what movie it is just by the first few lines. I'm a big sci-fi geek. If you listen to the previous episode with Star Trek with Jeff Aiken, I'm into classical music. Also, a little known fact: I actually didn't start my teaching job as a PE teacher. Okay, I went to school to be a kindergarten teacher, and I taught block building to other teachers and how to incorporate it into the classroom. But that's something you would never know because you assume that, yes, basketball is very prominent in my life. That's just a piece of me. That's just one part inside of my box. And the labels that they stick on the outside of them may not necessarily fit what's actually inside. This is what I want you to do. I want you to sit with your parents, sit with your folks, sit with your brother, sister, and parents. This is for you too, because I guarantee there are things about yourselves that your children don't know. I'm sure they give you funny faces when you try to do the latest TikTok dance or you start moving around because you're not supposed to be doing that. Like, ew, dad, why are you dancing like that? You're not supposed to know that dance. Meanwhile, the dance you're doing, they were doing 30 years ago and they just added a little foot movement to I don't understand it. But anyway, so what I want you to do is, parents, I want you to sit down with your children and tell them 3 to 5 things that your child may not know about you that you did around their age. Okay? You didn't wake up one day and said you wanted to be in business. You didn't wake up one day and said I wanted to take a picture. You didn't wake up one day and say I'm going to be a journalist. You didn't wake up one day and say, hey, I'm going to drive the bus. Whatever your current situation is, I'm sure maybe a lot of us in 8th grade, middle school, we didn't envision what we are doing now. We didn't envision this version of ourselves, right? But it still does not take anything out from our box. So I want you to sit down with your family and go around, give 3 to 5 things about yourself to each other. Okay? And then your homework assignment, my friends, is in your Google Classroom or in Jupyter Grades. I want you to write down 3 or 5 things that somebody may not know about you just from looking at you, just from seeing the outside of your box. Okay, if you would like to share with everybody, that's fine. If you just want to send it to me, obviously I'll be the only one to see it, but I'd love to hear from you. Okay, and then during recess, I want you to take the time to reach out and talk to your friends and talk to new people and see what else they're into. All right, y'all. That is a wrap for now. I hope to see all your lovely faces soon, very soon. I'll be back And I will holler at you guys later. Remember, the outside of the box is not as important as what's inside of the box. Okay, I'm going to end with this. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of the dream. You guys stay safe out there. Peace.